Heartwarming rescue, single dad discovers his late wife's sister, a millionaire, in a car wreck. Jake Harper drove home through the sleepy streets of his small Midwestern town, the weight of another exhausting day resting heavy on his shoulders. As the sun dipped, painting the sky in warm oranges and purples, his mind was clouded with worries, bills piling up, school events approaching, an empty seat at the dining table where his late wife once laughed. He thought of Lily, her bright smile, and Noah, always curious, both deserving of a life untouched by grief. Suddenly, a flash of movement on the roadside caught his eye. A crumpled car, steam hissing like a wounded beast, sent a jolt of adrenaline through Jake. Without a second thought, he pulled over, heart racing as he stepped out. The scene before him froze him in disbelief. Trapped inside the wrecked car was Emily, his late wife's estranged sister. She was the embodiment of success, the whirlwind of a life Jake had always viewed from a distance, rich and untouchable. As Jake pried the door open, the stench of burnt rubber filled his nostrils. "Emily?" he gasped. Her eyes, wide with fear, met his, a tangle of relief and disbelief swirling between them. Freeing her from the wreckage felt monumental, but the past crashed upon him like an avalanche, swirling with memories of Jenna, his late wife, and the family ties that had frayed after her tragic accident. Why didn't you ever reach out? He found himself asking, anger, hurt, and confusion bubbling beneath the surface. Emily's retreat from their lives had always stung like salt in a wound. "Jake," she began, but words caught in her throat. The emotional turmoil morphed into a shared reminiscence, revealing layers of grief, love, and long-held misunderstandings. They dug into their painful histories, each revelation poignant and raw, both crying for the sister, the daughter they had lost. In the days that followed, their unlikely bond began to mend. Jake introduced Emily to the beauty of small-town life: block parties, friendly waves, the deep roots of their community. He worked hard, fueled by the laughter of Lily and Noah, who thrived with the newfound warmth of family. Emily, feeling the genuine connection and joy around her, started to see a world far removed from her high-flying lifestyle. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when things started to feel right, a lucrative landscaping contract landed in Jake's lap, his chance to finally grow his business, something he dreamt of, especially for Jenna. But it came at a cost. Accepting it meant long hours away from Lily and Noah, the very kids he fought to give a stable life. He stood at a crossroads, the pull of ambition battling the tenderness of fatherhood. Would he lean into the fragile sisterhood they had rebuilt, or dive into a future that seemed brighter but risked the bonds he held so dear? The answers were murky, uncertainty clouding his heart as he contemplated choices that would reframe his future. Would he gamble everything for a shot at success, or keep his family close, love transcending wealth? As the sun set on another day, the horizon glimmered with questions, and Jake couldn't help but wonder, could they truly heal from the wreckage of yesterday? Jake's heart raced as he stared at the contract sprawled across his kitchen table, the ink bold and inviting. It promised prosperity, a chance to expand his landscaping business beyond his wildest dreams. But the thought of leaving Lily and Noah even for a few hours felt like a betrayal. They were his reason for everything, the light that guided him through darkness. "What do you think, Dad?" Lily's innocent voice pulled him from his thoughts. She had her head buried in a book, a world of imagination shining in her eyes. Jake's heart softened, the vision of his daughter's happiness filling him with warmth. As he set the contract aside, he glanced at Emily, who was sipping her coffee and watching the kids play in the backyard. She had quickly become a fixture in their lives. The laughter they shared felt like a balm over the wounds left by loss. But those wounds were still fresh, lingering beneath the surface, and Jake felt the heaviness of unspoken words hanging in the air. "Should I take that job?" he asked her, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily put down her mug, her brows knitted in contemplation. "Honestly, Jake, I see how much you care about this. But think about what's more important. Is a bigger business worth missing time with those kids?" Her words struck him hard, leaving an echo in the fragile silence that followed. He thought of the times he had missed because he was too busy. He had lost Jenna once, he couldn't afford to lose them too. "Maybe I can balance both. Just until I get this off the ground." He clung to that sliver of hope, unwilling to let go of what felt like a lifeline. Emily shook her head gently. "I thought I could handle my life without family for years. It was lonely. Money can't fill that void." Each word tugged at Jake's heart as he watched Lily and Noah run in circles, laughing with abandon. He realized just how much he wanted the kids to have the nurturing he had been fighting so hard to provide, but he also needed to make sure he did not sacrifice the moments that mattered. As days turned into weeks, the struggle inside him only intensified. He met with the client, discussed plans, and envisioned a future bustling with growth. But every time he drove home, those fleeting moments he missed with his children tugged at him like a whisper in the wind. Could he really let excitement for a new chapter come at the expense of their little joys? One evening, after dinner, Emily knocked on his office door, her expression serious. "I've been thinking maybe I can help. I know a lot about marketing. We could turn this into a partnership. Think of the possibilities." Jake felt the rush of gratitude. This woman, still grieving her own losses, was offering him a lifeline when he felt he was barely afloat. "I really don't want to pull you into my mess," he replied, heart warm yet anxious. "It's not a mess," she argued softly. "It's a new beginning. Just like ours." And just like that, Jake's despair shifted back to hope, a bridge they could build together. But soon, the worry crept back, heavier than ever. Would relying on Emily change their dynamic? Would it put even more pressure on their bond? That night, as Jake lay in bed, he felt the weight of their shared history pressing down on him. Was he opening doors or potentially setting up barriers? With uncertainty clouding his brave-faced approach to rebuilding their lives, Jake wondered whether shaking hands on a future was the sweet promise he longed for or the beginning of a storm that could unearth old wounds. What battles lay ahead as he tried to carve out a path of success without losing the heart of his family? Jake stared at the ceiling, the weight of the day pressing down on him. The darkness of the room gave him space to think, but the questions kept swirling in his mind. He turned to his side, hoping for a glimmer of clarity. Emily's offer floated around like a curious cloud, teasing both excitement and dread. The morning sun broke through the curtains the next day, bathing the room in warm light. It felt inviting, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside him. Jake got up and padded lightly to the kitchen, drawn by the sound of laughter filtering in from the backyard. He found Lily and Noah playing tug-of-war with an old garden hose, their giggles ringing like the sweetest music. "Hey, champions!" he called out, unable to contain a smile. "Dad! Come help!" Lily yelled, her arms outstretched in a mock pleading gesture. Jake stepped into their world, where problems were easily forgotten, at least for a moment. He grabbed one end of the hose, and the playful battle began. It was a simple game, but in it, he found something valuable: joy, connection, a reminder of why he had to choose carefully. After some tough wrestling, he dropped to the grass, breathless but happy. Okay. You win. The hose is yours." Lily collapsed beside him, grinning while Noah bounced around with victorious shouts. The laughter melted some of the heaviness in Jake's heart, if only for a short while. But then it crept back in like a shadow, quietly whispering those unanswered questions again. The rest of the day passed in a hazy blur of family projects and pancakes that the kids insisted on making, each moment stitched together with love. But as the evening fell and they settled for a movie night, Jake found his thoughts racing back to the contract and Emily. "Dad? Can we watch The Lion King? Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Of course, Jake replied, pulling her close as they all snuggled on the couch. As the movie rolled, Jake's thoughts drifted. Emily had meant it when she said they could be partners. She believed in his vision, and for the first time, he caught a glimpse of possibility. But could he truly let another person into his chaotic life, blending the complex strands of love, loss, and new beginnings? Just then, his phone buzzed, pulling him out of his reverie. It was a message from Emily. Harbor Ridge is looking for contractors next week. It's a big job. We could make a splash. His heart raced at her words. Was he ready? Did this mean stepping back or stepping forward? Dad. Noah's voice broke through, pulling him away from his thoughts. You're not watching. What's wrong? Nothing, buddy. Just thinking. Don't think too hard. He giggled, and moments like that reminded Jake of the innocence they all held tightly. That's what mattered. But as the night stretched on, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that a choice loomed over him, one that could redefine everything. Emily was opening a door, one leading to professional growth, but at what cost? How would he decide what path to take without losing sight of those precious moments with his kids? The next morning, a sudden knock at the door startled him from sleep. He opened it to see a man in a suit, face serious, holding an envelope. Mr. Jacobson. We need to talk. Jake's heart pounded. What could this mean? As the man stepped into the doorway of their home, Jake realized that not all doors lead to sweet beginnings. Some might bring unforeseen challenges. What awaited him beyond this moment? Jake blinked against the morning light, trying to wrap his mind around the man's appearance. The strange visitor stepped inside, loosening his tie as if preparing for a difficult conversation. Mr. Jacobson, he said, his tone clipped. You don't know me, but I was sent by your late wife's family. The words hung in the air, cold and heavy. Jake's stomach twisted. He hadn't thought much about Emily's family since her passing. It was a wound too fresh, one he'd kept tucked away beneath layers of daily life, the whirlwind of parenting and work. They've requested your presence, the man continued, glancing around the living room as if assessing the surroundings. It's concerning her sister, Fiona. There's been an accident. The world shifted beneath Jake's feet. He felt the gravity of the man's words, leaving him reeling. Fiona, Emily's younger sister, had been battling her own demons for years. Their sporadic phone calls had been tinged with apprehension and distance. Jake had never imagined this would be how they would reconnect. Is she all right? Jake finally managed to ask, though his voice wavered. The man hesitated, clearly weighing his words. She's stable but in serious condition. They've asked you to come to the hospital. There are legal matters that her family thinks you should be aware of. Each word felt like a punch to Jake's gut. He wasn't sure he could handle learning about Fiona's fate while grappling with the memory of his own loss. Yet, he felt a strange pull, not just from duty, but from an ache to understand the woman his wife had loved. Okay. I'll go, Jake said, forcing the words through a throat that felt too tight. The man nodded, relief spilling onto his face. I'll drive you. It's not far from here. As they made their way to the car, Jake's mind raced. What had happened? Why hadn't he known Fiona was in trouble? All these years, he had focused so much on caring for his children that he'd let other connections slip away. Did he really want to step back into a world that had been so painful? In the car, silence enveloped them. The man's attempt at small talk felt jarring against the weight of the situation. Jake stared out the window, the scenery blurred as his thoughts spiraled. Memories of Emily surfaced, her laughter, her determination, the way she spoke about her sister and their childhood adventures. She always said that Fiona had a wild spirit, someone who never quite settled in one place. Jake had always admired that about her. But he also knew it had often led to tension between them, Emily yearning for a connection that was elusive. When they arrived at the hospital, Jake felt like he was stepping into a different universe, one filled with sterile smells and muffled voices. The man led him through the maze of corridors, and Jake's heart pounded with each step. "Room 312, the man said, gesturing. "I'll leave you to it." Jake stood outside the door, every instinct in him screaming to turn back. But as he took a deep breath and pushed the door open, he was confronted with a sight that stopped him cold. Fiona lay unconscious, bruised and looking so fragile. The sound of machines beeped softly around her, and an overwhelming wave of emotion washed over him. This was Emily's sister, and in that moment, he realized he was tied to her by more than just the past. He felt the weight of fate resting on his shoulders, waiting for him to act. What would he do now? Would he reach out to the family he had distanced himself from? And what did this all mean for the life he was trying to rebuild? The moment hung heavy in the air, echoing the unresolved feelings of loss, love, and a new path forward. Would he muster the strength to be there for her when he had just begun to rediscover his own life? Before he could answer that, a soft groan caught his attention, and Fiona stirred slightly. Her eyes fluttered open, confusion etched on her face. "Jake?" she whispered, barely audible. And just like that, everything began to spiral again, a storm of emotions brewing at the surface, pulling him into the next chapter of his life. Where rescue was not just about saving others but finding himself once more. Jake's heart raced at the sound of Fiona's voice. He stepped closer, moving past the bed to take in the reality of her situation. Bruises mottled her skin like a broken canvas. She looked so small beneath the crisp white sheets, the beeping machines a stark contrast to the heavy silence left by her absence from life. "Hey, it's me," Jake said, his voice breaking slightly. "It's Jake." She blinked again, as if trying to place him. Her brow furrowed, and for a moment, panic threatened to engulf him. What if she didn't recognize him? What if their past was too far gone, lost in time and memories? "Jake," she repeated, a flicker of understanding flashing across her eyes. What happened?" "An accident," he said, instinctively taking her hand. It was warm but delicate, and he felt a rush of instinct to protect her. "You're in the hospital. They're taking care of you." Fiona swallowed hard, her gaze shifting to the machines, the foredrip. "I remember something. A car I didn't see." Her voice trailed off as the weight of realization settled in. Jake could see the fear creeping back in. He squeezed her hand, trying to convey reassurance amidst the chaos. "You're okay now," he promised, fighting his own uncertainty. "You're safe." A tear slipped down Fiona's cheek, and Jake felt the urge to wipe it away. He leaned in closer, studying her features, the way the light played against her dark hair, the same shade as Emily's. This connection, this bond, felt both comforting and frightening. "Why are you here?" "I didn't expect." Her voice trembled. Jake took a deep breath, carefully choosing his words. "I came when I heard from your family. They thought I should be here." "Emily," she whispered, her voice hitching. "I miss her too," he replied softly, and for a moment, the shared grief swirled between them like smoke, a bond that had not only grown out of loss, but had the power to heal. Jake could sense it. This was not just about tragedy, this was a chance to reconnect not just with Fiona but with memories of Emily that he had kept locked away. There was so much he had avoided, burying himself in fatherhood and work while the fears of facing her family loomed large. "Do you remember some of the fun things Emily used to say about you?" he asked, attempting to steer the conversation toward lighter memories. "She always talked about your travels, how you never settled down, and how you brought life into every room you entered." Fiona's eyes brightened for a flicker of a moment. "That sounds like her," she said, a faint smile gracing her lips. She wanted to experience everything. The moment felt like a bridge being built between their fractured lives, a way to both honor Emily's memory and step into their shared future. But the question lingered: what would happen when reality crashed back in? As Jake sat with Fiona, their conversation slowly easing into familiarity, the door suddenly swung open. A nurse stepped in, clipboard in hand, disrupting the fragile moment. "Visiting hours are almost up," the nurse announced, glancing at the clock. "You'll need to step out soon." Jake's chest tightened at the thought of leaving Fiona alone again. "Can I stay just a little longer?" he asked, not willing to let her drift back into silence. The nurse nodded but didn't linger, leaving Jake with a bottle of hesitation. Facing Fiona, he felt the questions building again, heavy and relentless. How could he support her through this? What did she need from him? And deep within, was he ready to delve deeper into Emily's family wounds in hopes of healing for all of them? "I'll be right here," he said, locking eyes with her. "You're not alone." Fiona nodded, her tentative smile lingering like a ray of hope in the cold hospital room. But as the seconds ticked by, a new thought disturbed his mind. What legal matters could involve him? What were they asking of him? Guilt began to creep in along with the weight of responsibility. And as he braced himself for the confrontation ahead, he knew within himself that the journey would not only change Fiona but could transform him too. Let us not consider just. Today, he began, gathering his scattered thoughts. What if we talk about tomorrow? What comes next for you, and for us? Fiona's expression shifted once more, curiosity mingled with trepidation. Us? She echoed. He felt the world narrow around them, a spinning vortex waiting for clarity. But just as he was about to expound further, the faintest flicker of unease crossed her face. "Wait, what are you talking about?" she asked, her voice rising slightly, uncertainty creeping back in. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what he was about to reveal. Would it unite them or further splinter their already fragile connection? And as he opened his mouth to answer, a new wave of realization hit him. Had he just stumbled into something much bigger than either of them could anticipate? Jake's mind raced faster than his heart as he searched for the right words. "I mean, how do we move forward?" he finally said, hesitating at the edge of vulnerability. "You're going to need someone to help you through this." "And so will I," Fiona frowned, processing everything. "Help? I don't even know what that means right now." The uncertainty in her voice cut through the air like glass. A chill swept through Jake. He could see this wasn't just about the accident or the hospital, it was about the reality of Emily no longer being there, and the weight of those unresolved connections pressing down on both of them. "Listen," he began softly, gauging her reaction, "what if we take it one step at a time? I can be here whenever you need. I can help you learn what's next, whether it's getting better or." He paused, searching for a way to convey the enormity of what they faced. "Or figuring out who you are now without Emily." Fiona's gaze grew distant, lost in a world that felt heavy and chaotic. "I don't even recognize myself right now. I was supposed to be the one living my life, not the one who needs saving." "You have every right to feel that way," he assured, wishing he could ease her pain. "But you don't have to do this alone." For a moment, silence wrapped around them, thick and suffocating. Jake could feel the tension, the unfinished sentences between them. What they were standing on felt like a high wire, and the fall would be devastating if they lost balance. Just then, the nurse returned, her presence cutting through their shared moment. "I need to check your vitals," she announced gently, moving toward Fiona's bedside. Jake forced a smile, trying to project reassurance even as he fought against the urge to express how frustrated he felt by the interruption. He wanted to push further, to dive into their situation head first, but it felt like the universe was playing a cruel joke by forcing him to wait. As the nurse worked, Fiona's eyes flickered to Jake, a silent plea for him to stay strong. It warmed his heart and reignited his resolve. He wouldn't let her slip away from him now. After the nurse left, a heavy stillness enveloped the room again. Jake leaned in, crafting his next words as if they were made of glass. "And what if we could explore Emily's life together? Learn more about who she was through your stories." Fiona tilted her head slightly, her eyes scanning his face as if reading between the lines. You want to know about her? Or you want to relive it with me? Bittersweet agony twisted in his chest. Both. I loved her. Your family, you're part of her too. As if a curtain had been drawn aside, there was a flash of something in Fiona's gaze. Hope. Desire. Yet, it was tangled with pain, a bittersweet blend of possibility wrapped tightly around loss. I want to remember her, Fiona said finally, voice barely more than a whisper. But it's terrifying to think of doing that with you. Terrifying can be good, Jake offered gently. It can lead to something real, something beautiful. Her eyes glistened, and for a moment, Jake felt a glimmer of the warmth that had been lost. They were two survivors, navigating a world shaped by grief, yet yearning for connection amid the wreckage of their lives. As the clock ticked closer to visiting hours ending, Jake knew time was slipping away. He had intended to clarify what they could build together, but the bond they were slowly forming left him questioning the direction of their shared journey. Would they find healing in one another or remain tangled in the shadows of the past? Before he could pose another question, the door swung open again. This time it was Fiona's family, their faces marked by exhaustion and worry. Suddenly, the room was flooded with voices. Fiona, we were so worried. Her mother exclaimed, rushing to her side. Jake felt the sudden burden of intrusion, a knot forming in his stomach. This wasn't what he'd envisioned. He instinctively stepped back, merging into the background as the family enveloped her. But the deeper he pulled away, the more he realized this was Fiona's choice to make. Did she still need him here? What did she want in this new tangled web of her life? Caught between loyalty and longing, Jake could only wonder what the next moments would bring. And as the family surrounded Fiona, he caught her eye one last time. Her expression bounced between gratitude and something else, possibly fear or hope. And then Jake found himself grappling with a new question: how could he possibly fit into this picture, and what did it mean for the both of them when the past called? As voices filled the room, Jake felt like a shadow dimming in the light of Fiona's family. They wrapped around her, hugs spilling over like a wave crashing to shore. It was comforting for her, but it left him feeling like an outsider peeking in on a world he used to belong to. He stood there, trying to read the atmosphere, but their concerns with her health overshadowed everything he desperately wanted to say. Fiona, her mother said, her voice thick with worry, we're here for you. You don't have to think about anything else right now. The words were meant to soothe, but they hit Jake like icy rain. He was trying to be there for her, to help her navigate this uncharted ocean of grief. But all he could do now was stand by as they took over, their concern heavy and consuming. The family had a history filled with shared moments, a bond that felt infinitely stronger than the fragile connection he was trying to forge with Fiona. Fiona's eyes wandered back to him, and he found a flicker of understanding in her gaze. When their eyes locked, he felt a spark, a tiny promise that maybe they hadn't reached the end of their shared journey. Jake, she said softly, and her voice cut through the din around them like a hot knife through butter. Her mother turned, eyebrows furrowing. Do you need something, honey? No, Fiona replied quickly, shaking her head, but her eyes remained glued to Jake. There was something unspoken there. A call for help, a reminder that she wasn't entirely lost, not just yet. Jake stepped forward, almost instinctively. The family fell into uncertain silence, curious about the bond he had shared with her sister and the nature of their connection. I wanted to talk to you both, he said, his voice wavering slightly. The words felt inadequate but necessary. Her mother's eyes sharpened, questioning. Talk about what? With a deep breath, Jake chose to be honest. About Emily, he began, gauging the weight of the word in the air. And how we can help Fiona through this. I want to help her understand who she is without losing herself in the process. Fiona's expression softened, appreciation mingling with a tinge of guilt, as if she were caught between the life she had once known and the uncertain future looming ahead. Her family craned forward, each individual searching Jake's face for answers. But he wasn't sure of himself either. He felt the knot of throat-tightening pressure bearing down again. I think it's important for us to share the stories, the laughter, those memories of Emily, he continued, more certain now. If we do this together, we'll keep her alive in a way. She stays with us. Tension twined through the room, each breath a strange blend of pain and hope. Fiona's family exchanged glances, their worry morphing into a cautious understanding. They had lost someone they loved, but so had Jake, and though their grief was tied to different threads, it was grief all the same. I think that's a good idea, Fiona finally said, her voice steady, as strong as it had been fragile moments ago. If it helps, she looked around at her family, I want to remember her with you, Jake. Heart racing, Jake felt a rush of relief, but it was also laced with a fresh mix of uncertainty. He had taken a step closer, but the weight of what lay ahead still loomed like a storm cloud above them. Really? He asked, a beat of disbelief lingering on his tongue. She nodded, determination sharpening her features. I want to find my way back to her, to us. I want to be okay. Just take it easy, her father interjected gently. We will be here to support you through this. Together, Jake echoed, an inkling of hope blooming in the crack of the overwhelming shadows. Together. It was a small word, but it held a universe of potential. As they shared tentative smiles, the door swung open again, this time revealing the hospital chaplain. I hope I'm not interrupting, the chaplain said, glancing around the room with warmth. But I'd like to offer some support if you'd like it. The moment was charged, the air thick with the weight of unfinished conversations. Jake felt the hesitancy he shared with Fiona, the unfolding connection, and the instinctive bond drawing them closer. But now, with the chaplain's arrival, it seemed another layer of their journey was just beginning, the exploration of grief, understanding, and maybe even healing. Would they lean into this transition together, or would fear pull them apart again? That question hung palpably in the air, and as Fiona looked at him once more, he held his breath, waiting for her answer. Fiona's gaze lingered on Jake, the warmth of their shared moment battling the chill that crept into the room with the chaplain's entry. She took a deep breath, grounding herself before she spoke. Yes. I think we could really use some support right now. The chaplain nodded, a compassionate smile breaking the tension. I'm glad to hear that. Grief can feel isolating, but it's important to remember that you're not alone. My job is to provide a space for you to talk, to share whatever you need to feel. In that instant, a wave of relief washed over Jake. He wanted Fiona to feel safe, to open up, to let her family know that her journey did not have to be one of solitude. He stepped back a little, giving her space to breathe while keeping one eye on her. Her parents exchanged glances, vulnerability flickering across their faces. They were warriors forged in love but wounded by loss. What do we say? What do we do? Her mother whispered, uncertainty battling with the instinct to shield Fiona. Just speak from your hearts, Jake encouraged, his voice steady despite the turmoil rolling inside him. Share your best memories of Emily. Let the joy intermingle with the sadness. Fiona nodded slowly, her expression shifting from nervousness to cautious hope. I remember. The time Emily took me and my friends on that road trip. She sang louder than all of us, making up ridiculous lyrics as we drove. As her voice trailed off, the room transformed into a safe harbor. The family drew closer, their stories colliding in a tapestry of shared laughter and pain, their tears weaving through the threads of memory. Jake felt his heart swell as he witnessed Fiona nurture her connection with her family, rekindling warmth in their expressions. I remember how she insisted on getting us ice cream after we got lost, her father chimed in, chuckling through his own tears. Emily swore she knew the way, but we ended up at some diner in the middle of nowhere. Honestly, it was the best ice cream I've ever had. The laughter grew, rising with every shared moment. Jake felt a sense of belonging that had eluded him since Emily's passing. Here, in this living room where echoes of love lingered, secrets, laughter, and shared tears morphed into a sanctuary. It solidified that despite the weight of grief, light could still penetrate the shadows. But just then, as silence slowly enveloped them again, Jake caught sight of Fiona's face, a storm brewing behind her calm facade. I'm scared. Scared I won't remember her right, she said, her voice breaking, eyes glistening. Her mother reached out, taking Fiona's hands in her own. You will. You just have to let it flow naturally. It's okay to feel lost. We all are, but finding your way back is a process, not a destination. Jake's heart pounded. He longed to comfort her, to reassure her that rediscovering her sister's memory was a gift, a shared endeavor they could walk through together. But would she let him? As the hushed conversation continued, he captured a moment where Fiona's hope intermingled with fear, and he knew this was just the opening of something much deeper. Can we do this again? Share stories? Talk? Fiona asked, her eyes bleary with vulnerability yet bright with resolve. The question struck a deep chord in Jake, sending a flutter of anticipation through him. Absolutely, he replied, feeling the weight of her request. I'd be honored to share more memories with you. The air shifted again, charged with potential and unease. Fiona's honesty had opened new doors, but behind those doors lay the residual impact of grief and the challenge of moving forward. The unknown paths before them were vast and uncharted. Would this journey bring them closer together, or would the fragility of their connection unravel? Jake felt his breath catch at the thought. Just then, a loud crack of thunder in the distance drew their attention. The room briefly darkened as clouds rolled over the sun. As the storm brewed outside, they all felt the gathering tumult within, and Jake realized they had only just begun to navigate through the tumultuous waters of their shared journey. But where would their intertwined paths lead them next? Fiona felt a knot tighten in her chest, the storm outside mirroring the tempest brewing inside her. The crack of thunder had rattled the frame of the house, but it was the storm of emotions that truly threatened to overwhelm her. The memories they had just stirred painted her sister Emily in vibrant strokes, funny, passionate, and undeniably loving. Yet, lingering beneath those moments was the gnawing fear that perhaps she wouldn't hold on to them as tightly as she should. I don't know if I'm strong enough for this, Fiona whispered, her voice barely above the rumble of thunder outside. What if I forget the important things? The little details that make her, her. Her mother stroked her hand gently, the warmth of the gesture cutting through the chill of doubt. Fiona, memories might fade, but love doesn't. You've got that in your heart. As long as you share them, they will always stay alive. Jake watched the ripples of emotion spread across the room. He admired Fiona for pushing through her fears, yet his heart ached at the sight of her struggle. He wanted to take her pain, to shield her from this darkness surrounding them. You're not alone in this, he assured her, his voice soft but resolute. Your family is here, and I'm here too. We'll figure this out together. Fiona met his gaze, searching for authenticity. Seeing it, she gave a small nod, a fragile flicker of hope igniting between them. But the moment was interrupted as the chaplain cleared his throat softly, bringing the room's focus back to him. It's a heavy weight to bear, and it's okay to be scared. It's about being vulnerable. Those moments of fear can be the start of healing. Jake felt a warmth swelling in him as he listened to the chaplain speak. His words hung in the air, as if inviting everyone to lean in and explore this uncharted territory called grief together. Jake felt an urge to take a step forward, to guide them all deeper into this conversation. Maybe we can start by sharing something personal, he suggested, glancing at Fiona. I know it's hard, but maybe talking about the details we fear losing will help solidify them. Fiona lifted herself up slightly, encouraged. Like how she had that weird laugh that could light up a room. A soft smile broke through her tears, and her mother joined in, or the way she couldn't bake to save her life but always tried. Jake chuckled, watching them. Wow, I'd pay to see that. How about a family bake-off? Supreme fails and all. Their laughter spilled over, wrapping the room in warmth. In that moment of shared vulnerability, the dark clouds outside momentarily parted. The heaviness in the air lightened as they began to laugh together, breaking down the barriers grief had built. But the storm outside was still brewing, a roll of thunder reminding them that their internal journey wasn't over. Suddenly, the deep rumble of a car echoed from the street outside, grabbing everyone's attention. It was sharper than the thunder, an ominous sound that pulled Jake from their moment of solace. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his instincts kicking in. Fiona turned towards the window, a frown creasing her brow. "What was that?" Without waiting for an answer, Jake hurried to the door, the need to investigate burning in his chest. He glanced back over his shoulder, seeing the family's shifting expressions, concern intermingled with curiosity. "I'll check it out. Stay here." As he stepped outside into the torrential rain, the air thickened with apprehension. What lay ahead could change everything. They just started to build a fresh connection forged from laughter, tears, and the fear of loss. Little did Jake know, what he was about to discover would shake the very foundation of the life they were beginning to piece together. What awaited him in the storm? Jake stepped outside, rain pouring down like a deluge from the heavens. Each drop splattered against the pavement, matching the pounding of his heart. He squinted through the sheets of rain, searching for the source of the strange noise. Ahead, a figure emerged through the haze, a woman, struggling to keep her balance as she approached the front door. His breath hitched as recognition washed over him. It was Emily. "Emily!" he shouted over the sound of rain, running toward her. Her clothes clung to her body, soaked in a shadow of the vibrant woman he had learned to lean on. Tears mixed with the rain streaked her cheeks, and yet there was a fierce determination in her eyes. "Jake, I needed to see you," she stammered, her voice barely rising above the downpour. "What happened?" "You weren't in town," he exclaimed, concern etching lines across his forehead. "I was. I got your message about Fiona. I had to come. I thought maybe I could help her," she admitted, stepping under the eave to escape the relentless rain. The tension in the air pulsed, an invitation to reconnect. Jake felt joy and relief flooding his thoughts, but he hesitated, recalling the fractured past. He gestured back toward the house. "We were just talking about Emily and memories. You've come at the right time." Emily's eyes widened, a flicker of hope igniting them. "Let me be part of that. I need to be. I've lost so much already. I don't want to lose Fiona too." The skies rumbled one more time, but it was drowned out by the image of her brave resolve. He nodded, a sense of purpose galvanizing him. They would face this together, tangled between past wounds and future healing. "Let us go," he said finally, turning back toward the warmth of the house. Inside, Fiona's family was gathered, their expressions shifting from shock to relief as Jake and Emily entered. "Emily! You're here!" Fiona exclaimed, her eyes shining with disbelief. The tension that filled the room began to shift to something softer, the connection between the three of them tangible, almost electric. "I wanted to share in this with you," Emily said, her voice steadying in the newfound atmosphere of safety. "To remember her together." Jake felt the warmth of community wrap around him. Fiona reached a hand out towards her sister, and it was a moment filled with promise, one of healing and rediscovery. "Do you want to start with your childhood?" Emily asked, a gentle smile breaking through the remnants of the storm surrounding them. Fiona nodded slowly, her gaze shifting between her sister and Jake. "Yeah, let us start there. It feels right." As memories spilled forth, laughter and tears twisted their way through stories shared. They recalled holidays filled with laughter, Emily's infamous baking disasters, and the shared dreams that had once bound them. Each tale told brought them a step closer to the intention of memory, transforming the pain of absence into a vibrant tapestry of love, laughter, and life surrounding Emily's spirit. When they finally fell into a tranquil silence, Jake looked around the room, taking in the faces of the family that had once felt like mere shadows. Now, it was filled with light, a beacon of resilience and comfort. "We are family," Jake said, the words flowing with sincerity. "And though we've lost much, we can build on what remains." Fiona's gaze met his, and in that instant, he saw her burdens lift, the weight of realization reflected in her eyes. "Together," she echoed, the commitment settling like a promise rooted deeply within them. The tension dissipated further, vulnerability taking root in a space where connection flourished. Memories began weaving back together, slowly healing the fractures of loss. Jake felt hope dripping down like the rain outside, seeping into the cracks of their hearts and soul. As night fell, the thunderclouds above faded, replaced by stars twinkling through their windows, a silent reminder that even after the darkest storms, light can find its way back into the gifts of life's vibrant moments. And as they shared laughter and stories, Jake realized change, while daunting, often brings unexpected beauty. He had not only found a way to honor Emily's legacy but had also built bridges to new connections. In the heart of that small gathering, Jake felt the family he had long fought for take shape around him, mingled with fresh memories that fluttered like a candle's flame against the shadows, and together, they would continue to shine. Jake inhaled deeply, a renewed sense of determination enveloping him. There was much still ahead, but each moment felt meaningful, every laugh a step toward rebuilding what they had so desperately needed, a world filled with love, connection, and hope. This, he knew, was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now to our channel, because this is only the start of beautiful stories ahead. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts like yours. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let's keep the conversation going. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation, because true fans understand the importance of spreading hope and love. Don't wait not even one more second.